For us, CaliberMind was the clear choice to fix marketing reporting and attribution. The reason why we went with them is because they allowed us to be able to unify our full marketing sales data in a single unified source of truth. They were able to provide us with the flexibility and customization features that we needed to democratize reporting within marketing. We did not have the budget to be able to bring on tons of additional tooling. I didn't have the bandwidth. I didn't have the support to be able to create a 6-month, 1-year kind of data roadmap to start fixing things. We needed to be able to move quickly and practically. What was also really important for us was that CaliberMind offered transparency and the clear ability to customize our attribution models, our channel and campaign definitions in a way that's unique to Superside specifically and our own historical data quirks that needed to be accounted for to get to accuracy. And then also, we liked that they give us the ability to be able to clean up data in our Salesforce instance directly. So not only does CaliberMind pull in data from Salesforce, but it also can push data changes into Salesforce. And I do not know any B2B company that says they have the perfect Salesforce instance with everything with perfect data hygiene and perfect data quality, and it's built with marketers in mind and not necessarily with sales end goals as well, and all of the abilities of which like sales does have a lot of freedom to kind of input things in ways that are not necessarily always standardized. This presentation is on how to actually do more with less, how we at Superside were able to grow enterprise pipeline by 30% at a 31% lower cost per opportunity through smarter spend allocation. So setting the stage here, when I joined Superside in June of last year, the company had very aggressive growth goals for SQL generation in the second half, but our marketing budgets were not going to be increasing at all. So we had to figure out how to make it work, and the path to get there quickly was not entirely clear. We just knew that we had to become way more efficient to make these ambitious goals possible. So here's how I decided to address this to start. Trying to pull every lever possible to optimize our channel execution and improve our channel budget allocation while fixing critical operational inefficiencies in the process. So what did that look like for fixing channel execution? So for digital ads programs, at least with this, there is always room to further optimize these efforts when you consider just how many different levers there are that can be pulled. So within the first month of me joining, I worked with the team to start fine-tuning our core ads channels like right away. So on Google, what did this look like specifically? We aggressively expanded our keyword coverage. We added negative keywords extensively, checking in on search terms every few hours, adding negative keywords multiple times a day, refreshed our ads to be much more targeted within the different ad groups and categories and use cases of what we were targeting, and created more optimized targeted landing pages, much more optimal for conversion rates. We also fixed our bidding strategy, moving from small CPC campaigns to a portfolio target CPA approach. So this kind of scenario then allowed us where our spend was no longer being capped by budget, but rather conversion efficiency specifically. And then we also shifted our campaign conversions tracking to consider both real-time pixel-based conversions in Google's algorithm, while also importing in lower funnel MQL and opportunity metrics to further send positive signals to Google on who to be further optimizing for. Additionally, we also shifted the majority of our spend to non-branded search to focus our spend on the highest intent net new prospecting audiences. For Meta specifically, we really leaned into further ad creative diversification and established much more robust ad naming conventions at the campaign, ad set, and ad level to improve our own creative analytics that we were running and taking a close look at. And so when we had these insights, we were able to collaborate more closely with the creative team, being very precise about sharing what's working, what's not, and then proactively creating a clear roadmap for what needed to be developed next. We also started to establish much more frequent and aggressive ad optimization best practices, leveraging a greater variety of metric considerations, both within the platform and outside of the platform, looking at our CRM data at both the campaign, ad set, and individual creative level. On LinkedIn, we adopted a similar campaign optimization and creative diversification approach because on LinkedIn, very similar in terms of some of the paid social types of behaviors of what grabs users' attention. And for us, for the channel, we had thought leadership ads and gated content campaigns were converting much better than our direct book a call ads. I would love to be able to get every CMO at every enterprise company of the world to just book a call from seeing a LinkedIn ads message, but it doesn't really work that way in reality. So you have to adjust based on what the metrics were that we were seeing. So for fixing channel budget allocation, so this was the biggest lever that was available to us. But the challenge is that at Superside, historically, there was no apples to apples reporting in place at all. We did not have clearly defined tight attribution. There was no marketing analytics function in any way when I had joined. And everyone across the different departments was pulling reports in different ways. There was a total mistrust in the data, and it resulted in team members sticking to the same strategies that they had been running for months, uncertain of where to further focus their efforts for growth. If I was to ask different team members, like, how many sequels did we drive last month from enterprise for our channels? They'd be like, well, there's 5 different ways we could pull this. We could pull this way. We could pull this that way. There's reporting inconsistencies, but it's what we have so far. So what that means then is like, I knew we had to start cleaning up years and years of marketing and revenue operations data debt. There was almost 10 years of data debt for Superside from the time I joined. So we needed a solution that would give us crystal clear understanding of channel and campaign performance across the full sales funnel. We needed tooling that would allow us to identify the exact underlying data hygiene and data quality issues that were plaguing the accuracy of marketing reporting to then be able to actually like roll up our sleeves and start fixing things. So for us, we looked at updating the company's MQL definition. When I joined, it was a very scattered definition. There was a lot of leaky buckets and like not consistency with how MQLs were being defined, too much flexibility, and it resulted in some events would be sending thousands of leads to sales, and then others would be sending a few hundred out of thousands of people who had attended an event. So what we needed to do was have a much more robust and unified definition that was aligned with across departments, aligned with sales needs, aligned with RevOps, and aligned with marketing as well, so that we had very clear consistency regarding when, who, and how leads were getting routed to sales. We also started establishing very clear definitions of campaigns and channels within both CaliberMind and Salesforce, and spent a lot of time fixing what was incorrectly defined historically. We documented all of our historical UTM naming conventions, all of the odd ways they were being defined historically for campaigns and channels, and then started cleaning up what was existing in live for our UTMs while developing a very clear UTM governance strategy for all of marketing moving forward. We spent so much time cleaning up different data fields within Salesforce with RevOps and obsessed about addressing all of the different fringe cases of where things were going wrong, because at scale, like those percentage fringe cases can really add up from a percentage standpoint. And then lastly, we also then, after we had some of these foundations in place, created a clearly defined different attribution models aligned with how marketing and sales is being measured at the end of the day by leadership. So the days of vanity metrics, not directly tied to opportunities and end goals for the department, were going to be over from that standpoint. And so these were some of the foundational changes that we made within the first few months. So we adopted CaliberMind August 10th of last year. And by September, the finer details were not perfect by any means, but we did have overall campaign and channel insights that were finally directionally all accurate. And this was exponentially better than anything that existed for us historically. So with having this foundational understanding in place, we were able to take action quickly based on our cost per opportunity data across all of our campaigns and channels to start making cuts on the underperforming campaigns. And for us specifically, significantly increase spend for what was the most ROI positive for us: Meta virtual event promotion, gated content downloads, and Google non-branded search. And this was really just those very early stages of the initial foundations. By no means were things perfect. And I'm going to pass it to Michelle here to help to how we've kind of brought this to then the next level from October onwards.
Thanks, Cassandra. So those early channel wins were impactful and achieved using directional data. And now I'm going to walk through the detailed work we did to get that from directional to precise. So these three specific things that each added a layer of accuracy to our reporting that didn't exist before. And they may sound basic, but they are crucial parts of the foundation, especially when we had historically been working only with RevOps and sales-centric reporting and without dedicated marketing analytics. The first layer was UTM accuracy, which was crucial for channel level performance tracking. When we built out our CaliberMind dashboards early this year, our channel owners were still pulling Salesforce reports to validate the new data we shared with them, and they raised discrepancies to us. And what we found was that our Salesforce instance historically only had dynamic UTM fields that updated with each new touch point. So they just reflected the most recent source, but not the original one. And this is what was always used for reporting. For channel attribution, this could be misleading, especially depending on the questions you're trying to answer. However, we did have stamped UTM fields added to our Salesforce campaign object, and these were more stable fields that preserved the origin touch data, but they weren't being used broadly in reporting yet. So making that shift in our new reporting was important, and getting stakeholders aligned on using these source fields is what would make cross-channel comparisons more reliable and accurate. The second thing we tackled was attribution modeling. So Salesforce campaign influence reporting has its limitations in how our instance is set up, being that when looking at opportunities, we could only attribute them to last touch campaigns and channels. So this actually led us to move to an even-weighted multi-touch attribution model in CaliberMind, which gives every touch point across the full opportunity journey a share of credit, and it allowed us to see a more holistic view of marketing influence, which was a meaningful upgrade from the model built only around campaign-associated contacts and those last touch points before qualifying conversion. Third was opportunity contact roles. So our Salesforce instance only credits touches from contacts who have been explicitly assigned a role within the opportunity. And this is highly subjective to sales rep hygiene, and it's a step that can easily be skipped in the early stages of opportunity creation. If a contact engaged with our campaigns but wasn't assigned a role, those touches don't show up in attribution. CaliberMind's journey stitching, however, captures all of the events and contacts associated to an account and makes this visible at the opportunity level so that campaign owners can see if we were converting and influencing the right audiences and act faster on campaign optimizations. Then what tied all of this together were the centralized real-time dashboards Joanna and I worked really hard on standing up throughout all of Q1 this year. And that's given the full marketing org a shared view of campaign, channel, and program performance for the first time. The goal wasn't just better reporting, it was building trust in data so that every spend decision was backed by numbers we trusted. And that's truly what turned the technical work into actual alignment and what really started to build a culture of analytics across the team. And this here was the culmination of months of chipping away at data tracking and operational issues as a newly established marketing analytics function at Superside. We were able to paint a picture of the progress that had been made, not just in the results themselves, but in our ability to actually see clearly and validate the optimizations that we made and make sure they were working.
So the payoff was clear, 30% more enterprise pipeline at 31% lower cost per opportunity. So we saw volume up, efficiency up, and we could tie it both directly to the channel decisions that better attribution made possible with CaliberMind. But this didn't happen by accident. It happened because we built a foundation that gave us real clarity on where spend was working and where it wasn't. And we moved fast to act on it as well. So now we're taking it a level deeper. So here's what we're going to be focusing on next. In terms of CaliberMind, it already gives us a really strong campaign level visibility, but campaign level data only tells us part of the story. If a campaign is underperforming, we need to know whether it's the audience, the creative, the offer, or the channel mix in general. Right now, we can't always answer that with precision, and that's where we're looking to close the gap. So in the first piece of integrating ad spend into CaliberMind, we really want to unify our spend data, pulling ad channel spend directly into CaliberMind so that that cost efficiency analysis, how much we're spending against what performance, against what pipeline outcome, all lives in one place. Right now, that requires us kind of bouncing around between platforms, which introduces lag, error, and it really slows down decisions. So bringing it together into one centralized reporting structure means faster pivots for us and more confident ones as well. And that feeds directly into the creative level performance reporting. So right now, with at Superside, we see that Meta campaign is generating quality SQLs. That's the reporting that we can essentially see. But what we can't always see is which specific ad within that campaign is carrying that performance. So which ones require refinement from there. So moving to an individual ad level tracking inside CaliberMind means we can give the creative team precise, actionable feedback. So not just Meta is working, build this, but this specific format with this specific audience is driving majority of our conversions. And here's what we want to do next to build and the why behind it. So that's the fundamentally different conversation that we're looking to have with our creative level performance reporting within CaliberMind. The third piece is segmentation. So we're building the ability to slice our performance data across creative type, audience, and tactics simultaneously. That gives us the kind of multi-dimensional analysis that is needed to get optimization decisions grounded in data that we can actually trust. And then cross-channel KPI benchmarking is something we identified early on, is that we had really no reliable benchmark or baseline. So we knew things were improving, but we couldn't always quantify by how much and relative to what. So what we're doing within CaliberMind is fixing that by establishing benchmarks across every channel. So every quarter we can efficiently measure real funnel improvement, not just directional movement. And finally, and probably the last piece that I'm most excited about is improving within CaliberMind is closing that loop between attribution and investment efficiency. So we're connecting our attribution data directly to our CAC and our ROI at a channel and campaign level. So when we're making a scaling decision, do we want to put more money towards Google Ads non-branded or double down on our mitigated content? We'll be able to do that not just by instinct, but we'll know what it actually costs to generate a high quality op and where that cost is trending. So taken together, these are not incremental improvements, but really the infrastructure that we're building for a marketing team that compounds. And we'll be able to know where every dollar we spend gets smarter over time because the data behind it keeps getting clearer and more precise.